Welcome back to our channel. In today's episode, we are going to talk about Berlin in Germany.
Hi guys, we've teamed up with Xania Travel to share with you their app.
Check it out, connect with other travelers, and tell your story.
Yeah.
I've never been to and I would like to visit. And Jesse was sharing his stories with me. So, as I remember, in 2013, you visited just for a couple nights.
Yes, I flew out of Tegel, and that was a story in itself. But yes, I stayed in Berlin 2 or 3 nights because I left Budapest to fly from Tegel back to Miami. It was the cheapest flight at the time with Air Berlin.
Yeah.
And then I came back in 2018.
And in 2018, Jesse stayed there for 6 weeks in summer. What are your highlights for that period of time? 2018, 6 weeks, summer. What can be better?
I'll tell you, there's something very magical in Germany in the summertime. I think that's the only time to visit,
Right.
especially in Berlin. Berlin's a very cold place, dark, rainy, and it's kind of like Seattle in the wintertime. And people still do things, but go in the summer.
Yeah, if you're a tourist, if you're not local,
Yeah,
be there in summer.
go in the summer. I had a friend that I knew, Romy, and so she had invited me. She said, look, come to Berlin. You can stay in my apartment, and she'll be traveling at that time as well, so she won't always be home. And I said, oh my gosh, that's great. I've always wanted to be in Berlin for a long period of time. Mm-hmm. In 2013, I ended up staying in Budapest for 7 weeks in the winter. Still had a great time. But at that trip was, I wanted to live in Berlin,
Yeah.
but I ended up staying in Budapest. So this time I had the opportunity to stay in Berlin, and it was just a great time. A great time.
Any places you visited you want to share that if you're coming to Berlin for that amount of time, what would you do? What do you experience? Did you feel yourself like you're a local after a couple weeks?
Yeah. You meet some great people, you meet a lot of interesting people, and if you just have an open spirit about yourself and you can get along with people and just go with the flow of things and be like a chameleon, you can fit right in. Mm-hmm. And I cannot pronounce this tram stop, and we'll put it on the screen here, but this is kind of like where the Mecca is, where I stayed for a while. Mm-hmm. And I met this guy, Saeed I think his name was. Mm-hmm. And he was an American guy, but he was from the Middle East, and he knew everything that was going on in the streets. So he's like, oh, you're an American? Okay, you're under my wing. And he actually took me around to all of the different people, and he's like, this is my friend, no one touch him. And he did. And I would walk by, I would say hi to people, and not that it would ever hurt you or anything like that, but they just leave you alone.
Know who you are.
And so I had a really great time. I would go to that neighborhood, hang out, see him, and there's always something to do in Berlin. You hear about music festivals and the different clubs and everything like that, but you could be walking along in Berlin and there's just kind of like a pop-up DJ. Mm-hmm. And 50, 60 people would gather around and just enjoy what's going on.
Yeah.
And that was one of the things that I really enjoyed about Berlin. They have a lot of parks, a lot of people that are out doing things. You can walk the street, and drinking beer in public is totally normal. And you can meet up with friends at other parks or whatever else, and everyone's just drinking beer, hanging out. And Berlin was just so relaxed. And I just really enjoyed it. And it's big, so you have to kind of get around. But I really enjoyed it. And I was really in a good spot in Berlin. And so I keep saying I enjoyed it, but I really did. I just had a great time.
How did you get around? did you go to further places in Berlin? Did you do some?
They had the metro,
Yeah.
and occasionally I would use my friend's monthly pass when she was gone. Otherwise, you just get on, you pay. If you don't pay, they randomly check. And if you don't pay as an American or a non-foreigner, they can't really do much.
Yeah.
But what they do is 5 of them will come in on a cart, and then they kind of start taking around their machines and checking all the tickets. And if you don't pay, they pull you off. But there's like 6 or 7 of these guys that come into a cart. And so they check everybody real quick, pull you off, give you a citation, and move along.
So buy a ticket.
Buy your ticket. And it's a €70, €70 fine. And like I said, if you're a foreigner, they can't really do much. But anyways, back to point. There's just a lot going on. There's just a lot going on. And actually, in some of the outdoor clubs, you can show up on a Friday and stay till Monday and completely be having your party, sleeping on the chairs to whatever. I mean, they have food, all these different things.
Yeah.
Just type in your place, Julie. I can see your face. She's like, oh, I don't think so, not for me.
No, not for me.
Julie would be more of a girl that would like Hamburg. That's where they wear the high heels, the nice clothes, go out to the fancy places. Berlin is not Hamburg.
Yeah. Jesse, tell us something unique that you did in Germany.
In Berlin,
Yes.
specifically in Berlin.
Specific.
There is this guy that puts on these spatty tours. Okay? We all know what a pub crawl is, right?
Yeah.
So in Berlin, they have these little convenience stores that you buy your beer, wine, and hard alcohol in, and they call them spatty. Right? Easy enough. But they're all over the city. So what he does is he organizes these spatty pub crawls, basically. And we can put the link down there. It's a real thing. He has TripAdvisor and everything else. And so what he does, he meets up someplace, and they go from spatty to spatty to spatty, all these different locations, and you buy beer, bullshit with people, talk, and just have a great time. And sometimes they start like around 7, and they go all the way till 2 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
And it's a great way to meet other Berliners and travelers, and it's just something I really recommend.
Share with us, please. What do people do during the daytime?
Yeah, when they're specifically not at raves or clubs that are lasting all day and night, there's a lot of parks in Berlin. And a lot of people, especially I was at, there was this lake. I'll put the park's name right here. People go there, they bring the blanket, and they go out and they lay out by the lake. They swim and just kind of relax and then enjoy and take in summer. And this is something you meet up with your friends, have a picnic, and just enjoy the sunshine.
Yes.
They all want the sunshine. And there's plenty of that to go around. And that's one of the things that we also would do on a day-to-day basis.
Would you do any activities? Would you go running? Would you go hiking there?
There's plenty of places to go running. There's plenty of places to do all of that. I just wasn't really in the mood for it.
Yeah.
You know, there's a lot of places to go running, a lot of trails. I didn't seek them out, but they are there. There's a lot of interesting places to go. We actually went to a former, I forget exactly the place, I'll put it down here again, that has a big satellite dish.
Wow.
And you can go up there, they have a bar, you can pay a small entrance fee, go up there and kind of check it out, take a tour. A lot of it was closed down because it was actually like starting to fall in on itself, but Romy took me there. And then there's also the famous places to go to, like on Sundays you go to the park, Mayor Park, what it was. A lot of different places like that you can go to on a daily basis. But in my particular neighborhood, I would meet people by the lake, take some snacks, take a blanket, go lay out, and just hang out for the day.
Yeah, enjoy the sun, as
Yeah.
I say.
Yeah.
From our conversation, people may ask questions or have a thought in their head that when you come to Berlin, you might see only like clubs, bars, drugs, and pub crawls. Is it really it?
It's not it, but a lot of it centers around that for the youth. I mean, they have an art area, but again, it all centers around this. And That was my experience. Now, you ask enough people, you'll find the answer that you want. But that's what it was for me. But you know, we had pool parties centered around clubs.
Yeah.
We actually had a pool in a club, and you could go there and hang out for the day. You know, of course, there's the museums, there's the cultural aspect of it all. But by living there for 6 weeks, young people tend to just center themselves around festivals or around music, going out, and there's a big culture for this. And it's just, what else are you really gonna do? It's summertime, people are out, and you go to the parks, you go to the clubs, you meet up with friends, have a beer. That's what you do.
Yeah.
There's a big drinking culture even on the streets. You go to the supermarket, you grab your beer, and you go to the parks, you go out, hang out, and just kind of what you do. I mean, you could honestly come to Berlin and live there for the summer and totally have a great experience. If that's what you want to do, you're going to have a great time. And do I recommend it? Yeah, sure. Why not? Why not?
I would say, like, it depends on what you're seeking to do.
Yeah.
And I would say, as I understand, there are things that you can do if you're not looking for the things like clubs and everything else related to it. Or if you are looking for that, that's probably the best place for you.
Well, also is to take in the fact to also understand the history of Berlin. That's another thing that's really interesting, because when you understand the history of Berlin and what it's gone through, and then you walk in the different districts that Berlin has, and you can see how everything ties in, you can really see the difference between West Berlin and East Berlin. A lot of people like East Berlin because that's where more of things are going on. West Berlin oftentimes can be kind of perfect and quiet. So if you come to Berlin, always stay in West Berlin or East Berlin. And it just seems that's where everybody keeps going to is East Berlin. And like, say like near Alexandersplatz, that's a major place where everybody meets up. And so if you kind of focus on that being the center of what you're going to do, I would go with that.
As we all know, Berlin has a lot of history, and we would like to know more of the cultural side of the city. What is your point on that?
Berlin is always changing. It's growing, and Berlin has a lot of history behind it, and actually spending a lot of time learning about Berlin, reading, watching YouTube, and then going out and seeing things and putting things to reference. I mean, just when I was there in 2018, it was during the World Cup. And what an amazing place to be. I watched one of the games at Brandenburg Tor, which is where the big gate is. And I was just on the west side of it. And when you're in Berlin, they have stones where the wall used to be. And I was watching the game right there, and it was big TV. And I was remembering in history when Ronald Reagan went to West Berlin and told Gorbachev to tear down this wall. You know, he was standing on stage, and behind him was the wall and the Brandenburg Gate. And I'm thinking to myself, here I am in this time and era, standing right here where a former president was speaking to the world and telling Gorbachev to tear down this wall right here. And here I am decades later watching the World Cup. And this is the type of fascinating thing that I find when I do come to Europe and spend time in Berlin, because America does have history, but it's very short. And its history is completely different than European history. And so to be able to walk around Berlin and understand the significant past it's had and put things into relationship with everything, it was also a really unique experience I had, and I could take it at leisure.
Yeah.
And it was something I would go out and do every day. I would explore different parts of town, understand what was going on here. And especially like when you walk from West Berlin into East Berlin, again, we've talked about it in past videos. What would it have been like to have been here at a different point in time? And that was another fascinating thing I had with my time in Berlin, was to be able to do that. And again, it was awesome.
My question to you is, if you had a chance to go back to Berlin, for how long would you go, and what would you do? What else could you do? If there's something in your head that you thought you would do but you didn't do, but maybe in the future.
Well, I have a big thing. My travel philosophy is never go back twice.
Well,
Never go back twice. If you go somewhere the first time, you are excited, everything is new, everything has a blank canvas, and with no expectations, your experience is off the charts.
yeah.
But if you ever try to go back twice and match that, never. So, but I think if you and I were to go back together, I think it'd be more about sharing with you what I know and meeting my friends in Berlin,
Yeah.
but it'd be a totally different experience. But it'd be our experience,
Yeah.
but it'd be more about, hey, I know this park we can go to, I know friends that we can meet up with, and it'd be a new experience, a different experience.
Yes.
But I typically don't return to places, but like we have now, but you get my point.
Yes, absolutely. Jesse, thank you for sharing your experience in Berlin. We really appreciate it. And all for you who are watching our video, share with us your experience. If you have been to Berlin, or if you're planning to go, what are you excited about? And if you have been there, what did you do there? Share with us in the comments.
Yeah. And next time we can talk about my time in Budapest.
Great.
Another great city I lived in for 7 weeks, and I like it too. So,
Can't wait to hear from you.
bye.
Bye-bye.